Tommy cat. Identifying as non-binary is definitely a political construct. This is not in question. It's literally, you can evidence it as fact, and I'm going to explain why. The concept of non-binary is completely a political construct, as evidenced by the fact there are no non-binary people who are not very far left politically. If the identity, the label of non-binary was something substantial other than politics in context gender, there would be non-binary conservative people, there would be non-binary moderates, but every single non-binary person is very far left politically. And that's how you know the entire construct and label of non-binary is also political. What is not real, what is real, what is consistent is gender ambiguous people, right? So gender ambiguous people exist amongst conservatives, amongst moderates, amongst lefties. But the tendency to call being gender ambiguous, meaning feeling like you're a mix of male and female behaviors, that if you're born female, that you're a little more male than most people, or if you're born male, you're more female than most people behaving. That is innate. That is real. That is not a political construct. But calling that identity non-binary, considering it a form of transgenderism, on par with transgenderism, is entirely a left-wing political construct. And the fact that's true is that there are no non-binary conservatives or moderates. I don't know why that upsets people. Like, it's literally evidenceable fact. If if something exists outside of political beliefs, then you will see it amongst all political beliefs. If you only see an identity amongst people with the same politics, then that identity is a function of their politics. There are no non-binary moderates. There are no non-binary conservatives. The only people who are non-binary are very far left. So we can say the tendency to label the same condition non-binary is entirely a function of being left-wing. There are transgender people of every political orientation. There are far-right transgender people, there are moderate transgender people, there are left-wing transgender people, and that's because transgenderism isn't a political thing. You're transgender. You have transitioned to a new gender. But the perspective that milder levels of gender nonconformity or gender ambiguity need a label and should be called non-binary is entirely a progressive left-wing view. And that is exactly why there's no right-wing or moderate non-binary people. Just aren't. The state of being gender ambiguous that would lead to somebody identifying as non-binary if they were gender ambiguous is innate, is real, is consistent, but how you conceptualize that is very political. Yeah, I don't see why that's controversial. I think the reason people think it's controversial is if you say the label of non-binary is a political label, it sounds like you're saying being non-binary isn't real, or being outside of a typical male or female behavior is not real, when it's like, that's not what anyone's saying, or that's not what I'm saying. That's very real. Very real, right? It's just the orientation of conception that there's a need to label that and take on a label, provided you're not so far polarized that you are transitioning and taking on a whole new identity legally and socially. that is where politics come into play. Like, very far left people will think, even if their level of gender ambiguity or incongruity with their birth sex is not so extreme that they're going to get surgeries or legally transition and change their name and such things, that they should be labeling it non-binary, that they should be calling it a label similar to proper binary transgender people do. And people outside of the far left don't see why that's necessary. I'm of that mind. The reason we label transgenderism is because they need treatment, right? They need treatment. They need help. They need to transition. They need to legally change their name. They need to get surgeries. They need to take hormones. If you're non-binary, you're likely not doing those things. Yeah, you're just not. And if you are doing those things, it's more on par with somebody who is not transgender, changing their name or modifying their body. It's more on par with that, in the sense, by definition, you're stating you are not completely not at home in a female body or a male body, or else you'd be a binary trans person. By definition of your own identity, you feel both male and female, which means you don't have the same level of dysphoria and inability to live in your body as a transgender person, a binary trans, where having breasts is completely foreign, having a female body is completely foreign. Your own statement is, no, I just feel more male. I feel like I'm a mix of male and female. So when you modify your body, it's not coming from the same place as a transgender person. It's more like, I don't really like boobs. I'd prefer to, like, I don't want to become a man, but like, I just don't want boobs. Like, a lot of cis women feel like that. Like, I'm sick of my tits. Like, I get tension from I don't like it. You know? Like, there's a big difference between not liking shit about your body, but generally being okay with being female-ish and completely intolerant. Like, I can't be a female. Like, there's a difference. One is more like cosmetic. There are a lot of cis people who do extreme body modification. And they'll say it feels more like who I am. Like, I got this tattoo, I always wanted it. I got the piercings. There are cis women who will modify their breasts to reduce them, not always augment them. Like, what I'm trying to say is, when non-binary people modify their bodies, it is much more along the lines of body modification. Because by their own statements, they are not completely intolerant of being their birth sex. They just feel less like it than other people of their birth sex, and they feel more polarized towards behaviors of the other sex. Transgender people are completely adverse to their birth sex. So when they transition, it's because no aspect of their birth sex is at home to them, right? I don't get it. Like, this is one of those things where, like, lefties will be like, you're a hateful piece of shit. It's like, I'm not hateful. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. I'm just saying, the reason the only people who identify as non-binary are far left is because it is a far left mental conception of a similar thing, gender ambiguity. And moderates and far right people don't agree. They don't feel a need to do that. Honestly, I feel like it trivializes what transgenderism is. When your own statement of your identity is, I am not completely adverse in my birth sex, that's what being non-binary is. I just don't feel as much like it as other people. You compare the kind of body modification you do to transgender people, where they literally can't live in their birth sex. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's appropriate, and it trivializes what transgenderism is. Now, of course, there's a lot of transgender people say, I disagree, they're an ally, whatever. You can have that opinion, but in reality, when you see people who are saying, I'm not so extremely adverse to my sex that I don't fit with it at all, aligning with people where it's like, I literally can't live as my sex at all, um, you're trivializing what transgenderism is. I mean, I'm not saying it's your intent to do that, but you are. It's very similar to something like major depression. In major depression, people stop functioning, they stop going to work, they stop eating sometimes, they can become immobile, like they can become psychotic, like all kinds of shit. And then somebody who has like dysmia being like, I have the same thing. They don't mean to trivialize how serious that can be, clinical major depression, but they are inadvertently, you know. And then you're only giving ammo to the haters, to the ignorant, where they see the dysmic person doing a lot of shit and functioning real well, and they're like, we don't need Mitch's treatment. It's the same thing when non-binary people try to say what they have is like being transgender, in the sense like, well, they don't get surgeries, or not consistently. They don't consistently take hormones. Only some of them do. Some non-binary people, like, they'll say like, I was never comfortable with my high-pitched voice and I took tea until it was a little deeper. uh this is body modification. Like, this, transgender people are just as invalid. Like, it's a lot like somebody with dysmia being like, I'm just like major depressed person. And when they can just get some therapy and do fine, like, it lends ammo to the bigots. What is true, and I will always say, is the same conditions that lead to being transgender are probably present in non-binary people, meaning like hormone atypicalities before birth, um, similar processes that lead to being fully transgender are probably present in non-binary people or gender ambiguous people, but you know, they are ultimately different things. And being gender ambiguous is very different from being transgender. Like, Jeffree Star is a conservative gender ambiguous man. Because of that, he does not identify as non-binary. He says he doesn't get it. I agree. I'm not conservative. I'm progressive. But I'm an independent thinking person, and I can't stand the groupthink in amongst progressives. And I identify as progressive, but I don't identify with progressives. To me, they're like a cult made by billionaires to focus on everything but real oppression and real inequality. They focus on if you acknowledge non-binary people or not, or if you say like, um, non-binary is a political. That's the kind of shit they focus on. They don't focus on billion. If anything, they support billionaires, and they think billionaires are secretly helping them. So I identify as, much like the way I identify as liberal, but I hate liberals. I identify as like progressive, but I hate progressives. Right? The average progressive or liberal you meet is a brainwashed piece of shit created by billionaires. Much in the way the average MAGA you meet is a brainwashed piece of shit created by billionaires. The difference is, ultimately, liberal, democratic, progressive views are correct for the people. That's how I look at it. But if you meet an average person in society, whether they're conservative or progressive or liberal, they're going to be spewing the bowels of the CIA and the billionaire class, and they will be completely unable to collaborate. Be crazy. They'll have really stupid priorities. Conservative will be screaming, Macron's wife is trans, vaccines cause autism, and I don't care about anything my billionaires are doing. And the progressive will be like, you don't believe in non-binary people, now I'll kill you. Like, there's no one fighting for the people. And everyone you see online is either working for the billionaires or they are so brainwashed by them they can't see out of the paper. And their priorities are adverse to their values. Like the MAGAs, they're so into this shit. It's like they hate Christians. They literally, of all the religious, they're Satanists, but of all the religious denominations, they particularly like torturing Christians. And you support these people. Trump wouldn't touch a Bible. What does that mean to you? Trump makes jokes, I'm not going to heaven. That's because he's a Satanist. He's an atheist, Satanist. And the type of Satanism the elites practice is a worship of the self to make them maximally. They already have an antisocial personality, but they practice Satanism to nurture it. The way people who are pro social might adopt a religion to augment their pro social inclinations. Like, it's the same way with progressives, like the shit they care about, like Illuminati is getting bad people and creating equity, and Google CIA told me I'm very special little boy and I'm psychologically fascist, but I don't even recognize what fascism is. I think I'm completely anti-fascist because I like trans people and minorities. But if you ask me my ideal society, it's a triangle where a tiny immortal elite are on top, and I'm right next to them because I'm special. I've been oppressed. They see something in me. And if you ask me, the real problem is these people on the bottom of society who got to go that we scapegoat. It's like, you're a fascist, bro. You don't have to hate Jews or immigrants. You could completely yammer delusional left wing shit. But if you are with the elites, helping them oppress people because you're so special and you've been oppressed, so you're helping them oppress people, and only you and people like you deserve shit because you're so fucking special and you've been eternally oppressed, and the eternal evil has been harming you all this time, and you ask yourself, how did they harm you? And you're like, it's a secret evil. You can't see it, but it's there. It's like a spirit. It's like a soul. Like that's how the eternal Jew hurts us. That's how the eternal Nazi hurts us. Like, you're a fascist, right? Fashion is about what you're afraid of and why you think you're great. It's about aligning with the elites, keeping them in power, and attacking powerless people. And in place of real things is a delusional religious like cult. Like, we have eternal goodness and the eliters see that in us and we've been oppressed and they're getting justice for us. And these people, they're evil. I mean, you can't see they're evil. They look poor and weak, but trust me, they have like evil molecules and they do evil in secret and they cause all the problems. Like, if that's what you think, you're a fascist, bro. And honestly, most leftists today are fascist. Like, simply because all of their views, everything they know has been created by intelligence and the billionaires. They got shit out of their mom's womb. They felt neglected by their dads and their moms, and then they went on Discord at like 11, and then they started getting groomed by intelligence agents posing as leftists. So, you know, everything they think is completely insane and right wing in nature. You could like they shit these mentally ill kids on Bayonne, New Jersey. If I go down the 16th Street Park and you go to like the bridge near Boatworks, like they have defiled the place with graffiti, and there's all these lefty slogans like "Torch Ice," "Trans love is love," and they're drawing Illuminati triangles on shit. Like, this goes to show how brainwashed these kids are. Like, you think you're a progressive, but you don't even recognize that triangle symbolizes the opposite of progressivism. This represents a right-wing society so far right, it's basically a feudal system. Like, the bottom is there to serve them, and they are at the top. Their parasitic gas is supported by the bottom. Do you have any idea how incoherent it is that you're writing lefty-sounding shit, but drawing a slave world on there? Like, they fucked your brain up so bad, dude. These people are literally like the same as MAGA, right? The difference is honestly MAGA is more like they actually want to upend the elites. They're delusional and being controlled and led by the nose by them. But you don't see MAGA saying a triangle society is ideal. These people are so much more brainwashed. Like, you no longer can say you're any kind of progressive when you're saying you belong to a tiny special elite that deserves to use humanity as a slave. You are not progressive. I don't give a fuck if you think you like trans people or black. It doesn't fucking matter. You're some kind of fascist, feudal right wing nut. The reason most fascist cults lean into immigrants and the majority nationality is that is the easiest way for elites to make large groups, large in number, fascist. You know, if you're a billionaire, if you're a capital elite and the economy's in the shitter, wealth gaps are wide, the Deutschmark's in the toilet, and you're terrified you're going to go out in a basement like the Romanovs, you got two options, bro. You either let your society get taken by leftists where they drag your ass in a basement and put a bullet in your head and seize all your shit, or you support leaders who are like, the real evil is a hidden poor person. This person at the bottom of society has been doing so much evil in secret. This so secret is evil. They may seem pro-social and doing, but they're secretly causing evil molecules that made your bank go take your house. Oh, the Aryan banker who took your house is good now, because now he's part of the National Socialist Bank of Germany. The secret Jew is making him do all these things. He loves you so much. You do that. So this way, the same people who wanted to kill you before, now they're like, wait, I'm special, and this person did all the bad shit. Oh, I love you. Let's go to powerful immortal together. That's what they're doing, bro. And yeah, like being left isn't defined by who you like and why. It's defined by how you conceptualize power. Do you want power concentrated in a tiny elite's hands, or do you want it equitably spread amongst the people? If you say like, no, I'm so special and oppressed, me and my friends, God saw something in us, and God's a billionaire, and we're just so special, we suffer so much, and these people secretly evil, we gotta get their secret evil. Like, you're a fascist. It's not about what groups you the only reason in typical fascism they tend to be like whatever the dominant nationality and religion is because that's the easiest way to tell losers they're special. Like, oh, you're German. Magic German, like, but if you want to make a group of queers and minorities fascist, then you say that to them. Oh, you're so special. You've been so oppressed. You're queer and minority. We see something in you. These people are doing all the evil to you. And it's like, what did they do? It's like, they worked as a nurse and sacrificed and literally said they didn't want to take more for themselves and treated everyone fairly. Like, yeah, that's fascism, bro. Like, it's not about what groups you like, but it's about the concept you're special for no reason. Elites are engendering that in you. You think you deserve more than other. You don't want equitable distribution of resources. You want more for yourself because you're so special and you've had it so hard, the injustice that you're not on top. And who are you focused on? It's not the people with power. It's somebody with secret evil doing secret harms. So secret you can't see it, or you have to make it up or something. Right. So if that's you, you're fascist, right? The fact that it's usually like the dominant nationality in a country and focused on outsiders is because um, when they're dealing with a large group of people, that's the easiest way to go to make them like feel special for no fucking reason. But if you're dealing with the minorities in that society, you could make a fascist cult for them. Like the majority has hurt you so bad. And it's like, who are you focused on? Is it the people with money and power? No, it's somebody who's really poor and weak. You know, it's the same shit. How power is conceptualized in your ideal society. If you think it's this, you are not any form of left progressive. You're not. Um, yeah. So, like I was saying, it's abundantly evident the label of non-binary is a political label. It's a politicized way of conceptualizing something that different political orientations, or even different ideas. Like, I consider myself progressive. I just don't agree with that. I don't agree gender ambiguity should be labeled transgenderism. And I don't think when people who call themselves non-binary modify their bodies or take hormones, it's in the same way transgender people do. It's more like a cis person modifying their body. Like, this is why I don't like the jokes like Elon's getting gender affirming surgery. All the MAGAs get gender affirming surgery. It's like, that's not gender affirming surgery. It's just not. You're invalidating what transgenderism is, right? Like, when you're unhappy with a body part or the way you look, but it's not because of a total inability to live in your gender and a need to be living in the opposite gender role, then that's more in the vein of plastic surgery or body modification. Like, if you're born female and you identify with non-binary and your voice is like this and you want to take a T so it drops more like my voice or a little deeper than mine, um that's not what trans people are doing. Like, that's just you having social discomfort with having an extremely female polarized voice, which a lot of cis women do too. A lot of cis women, if they have a very high pitched voice, they'll have discomfort talking in a meeting or giving a speech because they feel like they're not going to be taken seriously. Like, it's just, if your identity is, I'm okay with being somewhat female, but I just don't like these aspects of myself that a lot of cis women don't like either for social reasons, that's just not the same thing as somebody who's like, I can't be seen as female. I'm a man. It's not the same thing, right? Um, it's more in the vein of cis women who are like, I hate my big boobs, man. Everyone looks at them. I get treated by these disgusting men badly. You know, like, if you don't want to get rid of your boobs because you're a man, you just don't like how boobs make you feel. I mean, you have every right to do that, to modify your body, to do whatever you want to do to make you feel happy. I'm just saying it's more in the vein of cis women who get breast reduction surgery or who don't like their boobs for social reasons. Yeah. Yeah. Um, with that said, if you want to identify as non-binary, I don't care. If you want to modify your body, you should be able to. I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to do these things. I'm just saying progressives are great at sabotaging themselves. They're great at supporting groupthink ideas that spread online and not thinking them through and calling anybody who disagrees not an ally and an enemy. And that's how they end up supporting so much stupid shit. Like, where I'm coming from is um, the progressive tendency to call gender ambiguity, milder levels of gender nonconformity, non-binary, is inadvertently lending ammo to bigots. Um, in a similar way, these jokes they'll all make, like Elon gets gender affirming care. Why does he hate trans people? It's like, he's not getting gender affirming care. He's not. He's just trying to make his body look more perfect. It's like reconstructive surgery versus plastic surgery. In reconstructive surgery, you're getting surgery for something that does not function or is so damaged that it is no longer in the physical spectrum of typical for you. If your nose is blown off by a shotgun, that's reconstructive surgery. If you have a little bit of a bump on your nose, that's plastic surgery. Um, where only to you it doesn't look perfect. But if you were to go about your life, nobody's going to think like you don't have a nose. Like, oh my God, like they're reacting to you in a totally different way. That's more like what transgender people are dealing with. Like they see themselves as a woman or a man, and they're going about life, and people are like, oh my God, you're a man. Oh my God, you're a woman. That's why they get plastic surgery or surgeries. It's more reconstructive. Um, the reaction people give them. It's about the societies not treating them the way they want to be treated, right? It's a completely milder and different thing when you have a completely passable normal nose. Nobody's going to look at your nose and be like, kids are not going to go, look. But you feel like, I just want a cute Barbie nose. You're trivializing what it's like to go through life when kids are pointing at you. Mommy, that person doesn't have a nose, and that's what transgender people go through. It's not only their own conception, like plastic surgery people, but everyone in society is like, that man is wearing a dress. And little kids are like, Mommy, why is that man wearing a dress? Like, that plastic surgery people don't deal with that. Reconstructive people do. That's a huge thing, right? And non-binary people are in that category because by definition they are not transitioning. They're more just modifying their body so they feel more at home in it. They're not dealing with people clocking them like, oh my God, that man is wearing a dress, and little kids saying shit like that. Like, and if they are, like, if they are, say, a non binary male who is dressing like feminine, then when other people react to them like that, like if they're a non binary male choosing or feeling comfortable dressing female, but they don't want to be a trans woman, when people point that out, it's not creating a ooh in their chest because that's their self conception. I'm a man who likes to dress this way. For trans women, it is like getting punched in the chest every time they just go out and they want to be seen as a woman. And little kids are like, Mommy, why is that man wearing a dress? And shit like that, right? If you're non binary, so you're comfortable looking like a male, dressing feminine, and you don't have this need to be seen as a woman, then even if you don't like how they're reacting to you because you think it's rude, it's not creating a punch in the chest. Oh my God, like they don't see me as a woman. It's a completely different thing. Non-binary people, when they get surgeries, is much more like plastic surgery, right? It's the same way, like if you get plastic surgery and somebody might say some shit like plastic ass Barbie nose, or before you get plastic surgery, they may say big ass nose, fucking bird ass beak. It's not creating the same like devastating, like, oh my God. As somebody who has no nose or who is transgender and everyone's seeing them as a man. If you're non-binary, you're kind of okay with being a male being, a male-like looking being in a dress. You're okay with that. It's not creating like, the same way like somebody who has no fucking nose and little kids are like, Mommy, what's wrong with your face? It's more in the vein of like, that's rude. I don't see why this is controversial to say. And like many things progressives do, they don't mean to shit the bed and fuck their own things up, but they are, as usual. This is like progressive specialty, like being tricked to sabotage their own goals. Like the Monopoly man completely rode these idiots back in the 80s to defund mental health care, thinking it was freedom and not enforcing schizophrenics. And now there's so many homeless mentally ill people, right? And progressives were complicit in that. Like they're constantly supporting really stupid ideas where even though they don't want what's going to happen, it will happen because they're not being logical. They're not thinking through where this is going to go. And when you it sounds inclusive. It sounds nice to like, yeah, let them have a seat at the table. Non-binary people are a form of transgender people, and it's the same thing. It's like, I know you don't mean to do this, but there's a lot of ignorant people out there. Outside of your bubble, if you go down to the mosque on 8th Street or the temple uptown or the Catholic church on 12th Street, there's going to be a lot of people there who are like, I don't agree with that. That's a sin. They do have no education. They don't think this is real. They think you're sinning. So we already have this huge problem with ignorance, right? And when you say people who are playing with their gender on par with like body modification and plastic surgery, when it's very evident people outside your political beliefs don't feel a need to label these things this way, and they're just like, I'm gender nonconforming. I don't consider myself transgender. Suggesting that people in that category, it's mostly a political view that they're transgender, you're inadvertently giving, like, you're helping the ignorance. You're not clarifying it. This is entirely a subjective, debatable view that non-binary people are transgender versus similar prenatal factors that would otherwise lead to homosexuality or gender nonconformity are also present in transgender people. But they're different. Just like being homosexual is different from being gender nonconforming is different from being transgender. They're not the same thing. You're choosing to say being gender nonconforming and choosing the label of non-binary is the same thing as being transgender. And it's not. Like, it's just not. Like, any more than dysmia is major depression. I mean, they may be related to similar factors like stress, certain genetics, but major depression is major depression, dysmia is dysmia. Like, they have different treatments, they have different life paths. And this is why the left online created by billionaires is so toxic. Like, if you put that view forth, the only way they're going to take it is you're not an ally, you're an enemy, you're a Nazi, you hate trans people, you want to oppress trans people. You're only saying this because you want to destroy trans people. It's like, no. It's actually because I kind of care about this shit. And I see the big picture. Like, um, you're helping. There are so many ignorant people, religious people, who literally think being gay and trans is a choice that is a sin. And it's evidence the only people using the non-binary label are people in your little political group. Therefore, it's something that is associated with a political view. And if that's the case, then you should evaluate, is this the best way to go? Because it's very evident moderates and conservatives don't feel a need to label gender nonconformity as being non-binary. So you should ask yourself, why are we doing this? Like, what is the point of it? And I feel like the progressives are coming at it from a place of like, we're being maximally inclusive. We're validating gender nonconforming people as being real. And it's like, you can do that without associating what they are with transgender people or the severity and the need for treatments that transgender people require. You can completely validate that people are not polarized entirely to feeling male or female without saying it's the same thing as being transgender. Because if you do that, then by logic, the surgeries transgender people get are just like plastic surgery. And I see them making these jokes about conservatives, and it's like you're invalidating. It's like they're invalidating trans people the same way they inadvertently do by supporting non-binary label. You're trivializing why they need to do this and how they feel if they don't do it, and how much more severe that is than people who are like, I just don't like boobs. I don't like the fact I have a high pitched voice, but I'm like cool with being seen as female, or like, I like to wear dresses. I like to wear heels. And when people clock me as a man in a dress, it's rude, but I don't feel like I was just killed or like really punched or stabbed because I want to be seen as a woman. I think it's rude and it makes me feel bad that they're saying that, but it's not like I had this conception of myself as a woman and then they're just constantly saying I'm a man. You know, it's not the same thing. Um, yeah, that's my view of it. Don't really care what you think.